Hey everybody, no BS with Bronwyn here. So, if you don't know who Kamala Harris is, you really need to do your research, okay? She's not who she says she is. She's trying to remake herself. She's trying to change all of her policies that she originally stated in the last 5 years. So, please, please, please do your due diligence and find out who Kamala Harris is. I have compiled a short, it's probably 11-minute clip by Ben Shapiro of the Daily Wire of Kamala Harris's policies, some from 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. She's trying to backpedal now on all of these policies. She's lying to you. Don't believe her right now. She's lying. She's trying to make herself out as a moderate. She's not a moderate. She's a radical Democrat, leftist, progressive. Do not believe what she is saying right now. Please do your due diligence, or else we're going to have a socialist, communist country. Okay? Please, I beg you to do your due diligence. I'm an independent voter, rural woman voter, and I am not voting for Kamala Harris. Okay, please watch the video, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Again, we're not talking about 2005. This is 2019. It's not that long ago. Here she was.
Should Black people get reparations?
I think there has to be some form of reparations, and we can discuss what that is.
Some form of reparation. Well, maybe we should discuss what that is. What does she think the reparations are for Black people? How would she carry those out? Will any questions be asked about this? Or are they too busy pointing out that she's hanging out with Bigfoot over there? Meanwhile, 2019, she wanted less funding for the cops.
It is wrong-headed thinking to think that the only way you're going to get communities to be safe is to put more police officers on the street.
Chicago gang members now outnumber the city's police officers by 10 to 1.
We have a shrinking workforce. I have a definitive amount of resources. 200 and some officers less this year than what I had last year.
About 115 officers either resign or retire since July of last year.
Here in Austin, police vacancies are nearing 200. And 911 response calls are taking nearly 3 minutes longer.
We're looking at the most catastrophic staffing levels we've ever seen before. We're looking at budget cuts to defund us like we've never seen before.
Crime surging in Democrat-led cities that slashed police funding last year.
And that was 5 years ago when she was saying that we don't need more funding for the cops. It was 2018, 6 years ago, when she compared ICE to the KKK. Here she was doing that.
Are you aware of the perception of many about how the power and the discretion at ICE is being used to enforce the laws? And do you see any parallels?
I do not see any parallels between
I'm talking about perception.
officers and agents.
I'm talking about perception.
I do not see a parallel between what is constitutionally mandated as it relates to enforcing the law.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
I see no.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
That puts ICE in the same category as the KKK.
Again, it's 2018. She looks the same because she is the same. It is incredible. The ads that she's putting out right now are about how she was a tough-on-crime prosecutor in San Francisco as DA. She left that job in the 2000s. And she was a senator 5 minutes ago, and she was a presidential candidate 5 minutes ago. And the media are allowing her to run as a tough-on-crime prosecutor who apparently went straight from being San Francisco DA to a presidential candidate with nothing in between. It's unbelievable. Here is that supposedly tough-on-crime prosecutor in 2019 raising her hand when asked whether illegal immigration should be treated as a non-crime. She's saying, yes, it should be treated as a non-crime to illegally immigrate.
We had a very spirited debate on this stage last night on the topic of decriminalization of the border. If you'd be so kind, raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross a border without documentation. Can we keep the hands up so we can see them?
Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris raising their hands there. Not a crime to cross the border without documentation. It's just 2019 when she suggested that private health insurance needed to be banned. And this is not that long ago. And here's the thing. Once you're president, you can do whatever you want. You can. So all of her fake moderate positions, they're going to just go away the minute that they are no longer useful to her in getting elected. Here she was in 2019 suggesting that private health insurance might need to be done away with in order to achieve single-payer health care.
So just to follow up on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, to reiterate, you support the Medicare for All bill, I think initially co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also a co-sponsor on it. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it?
Well, listen, the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care. And you don't have to go through the process of going through an insurance company, having them give you approval, going through the paperwork, all of the delay that may require. Who of us has not had that situation where you got to wait for approval and the doctor says, well, I don't know if your insurance company is going to cover this? Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Just move on. Wave of a hand. Just move on with the entire private health insurance business, which would turn America into a Canadian-style socialized healthcare system. Just move on. You may also remember back in 2019, if you have a memory good enough, Kamala Harris suggesting that it was deeply important that Californians who are on like death row, but who are trans, had plastic surgery funded by taxpayers. That's correct. If you're a man, you murdered or raped somebody, but you now feel like a lady and you want to have the ding dong cut loose, Kamala Harris wants everybody else to pay for it. That is circa 2019.
They were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. And there was a specific case. And when I learned about the case, I worked behind the scenes to not only make sure that that transgender woman got the services she was deserving. So it was not only about that case. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need.
Understand? You should pay for some pervert criminal to have a boob job or to have an addictomy. That's you. Don't worry, she'll make a great moderate president. She's not crazy at all. How about 2019 when she said she was going to ban fracking entirely? Ban fracking, which is going to be great for winning Pennsylvania.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting...
No question.
And starting
None.
with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be
on day one.
But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities.
And how about 2019 when she said she wanted to ban plastic straws? And people are treating this as parodic. She's the one who said it. I didn't say she wanted to ban plastic straws. She said she wanted to ban plastic straws, which, by the way, I mean, it's not like top of my voter issue list, but paper straws are the worst thing ever created by mankind. Here is Kamala Harris saying we need to ban plastic straws in favor of those crappy things that you get at Starbucks that immediately collapse the minute that you attempt to drink from them.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should. Yes. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. It's really difficult to drink out of a paper straw when if you don't gulp it down immediately, it starts to bend.
Yeah, so she acknowledges she still wants to get rid of the plastic straws because she is a totalitarian. That's what she is. And it turns out that it's not just what she was during the campaign. It's also what she was when she was VP. She bragged in 2021 about being the last person in the room making decisions with Joe Biden on Afghanistan. Afghanistan is the single worst foreign policy failure of the United States in my lifetime because I'm not old enough for Vietnam. And here is Kamala Harris bragging in 2021 about how she was the last person in the room with Joe Biden making those decisions, which means it's on her. It's on her. Those dead service people, on her. The tens of thousands of people who are allied with the United States left behind to be slaughtered by the Taliban, on her. All those women who have now been forced back into burqas and into basements, on her. She's the one who said it. I didn't say it. She said it. When is she going to be asked a question about this? When?
President Biden always said that he wants you to be the last person in the room, particularly for big decisions, just as he was for President Obama. He just made a really big decision. Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do.
Why is she not being asked about that? Why? Hey, how about in 2021 when she was put in charge of the border. Yes, she was. Joe Biden said so. He said he was going to send her to the Northern Triangle to try and stymie the illegal immigration happening across the border. And then she was asked by Lester Holt famously about whether she'd ever been to the border. And she gave this bizarre answer.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You'll also remember that back in 2021, Joe Biden, he put her in charge of a few things, and she failed so badly at them, he decided to never put her in charge of anything ever again. In 2021, Joe Biden, in his address to a joint session of Congress, suggested that he was going to put Kamala Harris in charge of achieving high-speed internet for the American people. Here is what he said. Quote, in the process, it will create thousands and thousands of good-paying jobs. It creates jobs connecting every American with high-speed internet, including 35% of the rural America that still doesn't have it. And I'm asking the vice president to lead this effort, if she would, because I know it will get done. So, question, she was put in charge of the high-speed internet dissemination, was she not? By the president. Did it get done? No, absolutely not. It did not. It turns out that in 2024, according to Breitbart, the Biden-Harris administration has made zero progress getting Americans connected to high-speed internet. FCC Commission Chairman Brendan Carr noted in June that Biden and Harris did not connect one American to high-speed internet. One. They had access to $42.5 billion in funding from the infrastructure bill, and zero Americans got connected to the internet. So she did an amazing, stellar job there. Obviously, we should put her in charge of the country. She's so good at connecting Americans to the internet that it took her $43 billion to connect zero people to the internet. Or he could have just gotten Starlink for everyone. That's the other thing he could have done. How about in 2023, when she was out there bragging about her electric school buses, how awesome the electric school buses are? Here she was in 2023.
You know what also excites me? Among the many things, I'm excited about electric school buses. I love electric school buses. I just love them for so many reasons. Maybe because I went to school on a school bus. Hey, raise your hand if you went to school on a school bus, right?
Now, again, that was right after Joe Biden put her in charge of the government's billion-dollar investment in electric school buses. So how many electric school buses were actually created? Well, according to the Washington Free Beacon, Kamala Harris and EPA Administrator Michael Regan, through the Clean School Bus Program, used $1 billion in federal rebates for 389 school districts across all 50 states to help deliver about 2,400 school buses. But here's the problem. According to an analysis of federal data by the Washington Free Beacon, only 27 of those districts actually proved to the EPA that the buses were delivered. They deployed 60 buses. 60. $1 billion for 60 buses. $1 billion for 60. Okay, that comes, I feel like that's, probably a good price. It's only about $16.7 million per school bus. I feel like I could probably find a cheaper school bus somewhere than $16.7 million, but I don't know. I'm not the federal government. She's amazing at her job, in other words. So where are the media? Where are they?